Good day, mates. Welcome back to the channel. Now, before we rip into this absolute debacle, make sure to give that like button a good whack and subscribe if you're new. And if you reckon Aussie politics has turned into nothing more than a circus, check out our limited edition Albo Says Relax t-shirt, going for just $16 for the next 48 hours. After that, well, it jumps to $23, so don't be a gala and miss out. Links in the description. Right, let's get into it. Now, you've probably already seen the headlines. Power prices soaring. Again. The Australian Energy Regulator has warned that electricity bills will jump by up to 9% from July 1st, with households and businesses copping the brunt of it. And yet, 3 years ago, the Albanese government, led by Bowen, made a grand promise. Electricity prices would go down. Not just by a little, either, by a whopping $275 by 2025. But instead of that sweet discount, we've been slugged with skyrocketing bills. And what's worse, Bowen's standing there, acting like it's not his fault. He's either pulling the wool over our eyes or he genuinely has no idea what he's doing. See, here's the problem. We are now paying for two electricity systems, one for the so-called green energy revolution and the other for when that green energy isn't working. No wind, no sun, no worries. We've still got the old coal and gas plants, except the government's made it so uneconomical to invest in them that they are falling apart. No wonder prices have exploded. Now, you know what they say, the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That, my friends, is Bowen in a nutshell. But let's break it down even further. Today, Bowen came out swinging, claiming the latest power price hikes weren't his fault at all. Oh no. According to him, it was the fault of coal-fired power stations breaking down. Convenient, isn't it? He didn't mention the fact that wind and solar weren't pulling their weight, even though the Australian Energy Regulator itself admitted as much. Here's what the official report actually says. High demand, coal generator outages, and low solar and wind output were all responsible for driving up prices. But did Bowen mention that last part? Course not. He just blamed coal. Now, let's be fair for a second. Coal generators do break down. They need maintenance. But that's what happens when you make it impossible for companies to invest in them properly. And when they do go offline, wind and solar can't make up the difference. That's why last year's wind drought hit us so hard. Not enough wind? Suddenly, not enough power. It's not rocket science. And yet, instead of admitting failure, Bowen's doubling down. He's promising to shut down even more coal stations, making us even more dependent on unreliable renewables. And when the opposition suggests keeping those coal plants running for longer, what does Bowen do? He claims that's what's driving prices up. Excuse me? Mate, you just said we didn't have enough electricity. Now you're saying keeping the lights on will somehow cost us more? Give us a spell. And here's where things get truly ridiculous. Bowen's big solution to all this? More subsidies. Yep. He's taking your tax dollars, handing them back to you as relief payments, and expecting you to be grateful. That's like a bloke breaking into your house, trashing your lounge room, and then offering to fix it using the money he nicked from your wallet. You can't run a country like that. And we are already seeing the damage. Our nickel industry? Gone. Why? Because energy prices in Australia are higher than in Indonesia, where, surprise surprise, they still use coal. Our last major glass manufacturer? Shut down this year. Our last big plastics plant? Gone. And in case you thought this was just a problem for big business, 27,000 small businesses have shut their doors in the last 2.5 years, many of them crushed under the weight of insane power bills. And yet, despite all this, the worst polls still suggest that Albanese and Bowen could scrape through the next election, but only with the support of the Greens and Teal independents. And what does that mean? More of the same. More climate extremism, more crippling energy policies, and even higher power bills. So, what's the bottom line? Bowen should be sacked. He's so deep in his own mess that he can't change course now, because doing so would be admitting he's completely stuffed it up. Instead, he's choosing to double down on failure, forcing Aussies to pay more and more for a power system that doesn't work. And yet, somehow, he thinks he can gaslight the entire country into believing it's not his fault. Well, we are not buying it. If you agree that Bowen has to go, let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, Our Albo Says Relax t-shirt is only $16 for the next 48 hours. Don't miss out. Hit that link in the description. Until next time, stay sharp, stay informed, and don't let these Muppets pull the wool over your eyes.